So children that have never been in school, it is a huge transition because they're not doing the play like they would do if they had attended pre-K. So it's almost necessary. So they're really at a disadvantage if they walk in the door at 5 and do kindergarten when they didn't have the exposure at 3 years old or 4 years old. So it's really important that we know if they come in at kindergarten, if they didn't have the experience, we have to differentiate immediately for those students because they're not as well prepared as children that attended pre-K.
Pre-K builds the foundation, but what happens after that? We know there's transitions, right? Transition into first grade, second grade, third grade. We are here with Principal DeLoach from Carver Elementary. She's going to walk us through and talk us through what successful transition looks like. Principal DeLoach, so glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Let's start with telling us a little bit about you and your journey.
So my name is Venus DeLoach, and I am the proud principal of Carver Elementary. I've been here, it'll be 5 years. In a couple of weeks, 5 years. So it's been a journey, but I wouldn't want to be any other place than Carver Elementary. So I love it here. I love the staff, I love the students, and I love the community.
So when you think about pre-K and you think about students transitioning, whether they're transitioning in your school or transitioning throughout the district, what's important for families to know about transition times?
So what's important for my families to know is that I don't separate pre-K. Pre-K, the same expectations I have for kindergarten and through 8th grade, I have for my pre-K students because they can do it. So you just set the expectations. They'll rise to the occasion if they're given the opportunity. So, but it is a huge transition, especially for first-time parents, if they're not aware of what kindergarten looks like now. So I'm not going to tell my age, but if I go back to when I was in kindergarten, I was taking naps. And I think up to maybe about 20 years ago or so, they were taking naps. They're not doing that in kindergarten now. And a lot of my parents are surprised, first-time parents that don't have the experience with kindergarten. They're surprised. They're surprised that they're being tested as often as they're being tested. They're surprised that they're expected to be reading. If they're not reading when they leave kindergarten, they're behind the 8 ball. So all of those things I share with my parents the first quarter of kindergarten and my pre-K parents beforehand. So to make sure that they know what they're dealing with. So it's a huge transition because if they don't know. Now at Carver, they're prepared. But if they don't know that the rigor is rigorous, but it's rigorous at pre-K and Carver too. So it's not a huge shock. Honestly, it's not a huge shock to my parents, but if parents don't know, they need to know that it's school. As one of my parents said, it's real school, principal. Yes, sir, it's real school. So that's important for parents to know.
I'm glad you said that around nap or quiet time, what we like to call it in pre-K. And that's something like in pre-K we're building towards, like we're building students' regulation to be prepared, to be engaged for a full day, which is different from pre-K. They do have that opportunity to have that 30-minute quiet time. I think what's also important that you talked about was there's rigor in kindergarten, right? And one of the things that we've been building on is to get families to understand that there's also rigor in pre-K, right? Absolutely. We approach reading and math, but through play and through developmentally appropriate activities. So what I think I really want families to walk away with is pre-K is setting that stage for kindergarten. And it's almost like it's the next level. So the skills that they're building on in pre-K are what they need for that stepping stone into K. So I don't want families to think that there's like pre-K is not on the same page as kindergarten, but it's building on each other. I think what's also important is that it is a transition. So we talked about the transition with time, longer day, more rigorous activities. We also talked about just the transition in stamina, right? But there's also a transition for some to being new to the building.
Yes.
Right? Because not all pre-K transition within the building.
Right.
How do you support those families who may be transitioning in?
The kindergarten with having a meeting the first couple of weeks of school, because I need to know where the children came from. Because as you said, and I want to piggyback off what you said, that is the foundation.
Yes.
It's definitely the next step. So children that have never been in school, it is a huge transition because they're not doing the play like they would do if they had attended pre-K. So it's almost necessary. So they're really at a disadvantage if they walk in the door at 5 and do kindergarten when they didn't have the exposure at 3 years old or 4 years old. So it's really important that we know if they come in at kindergarten, if they didn't have the experience, we have to differentiate immediately for those students because they're not as well prepared as children that attended pre-K.
I love that you said that. And we have a summer program for that very reason. Because students transition into kindergarten from different places. It could be parochial school or Catholic school, it could be charter, it could be, childcare agency. We have 2 program models during the summer that we offer as a transition. So we have kickoff to kindergarten, which is a transition for those students who are rising into kindergarten, but also preview to pre-K for those students who may not have had a pre-K experience and are 3-year-olds and will be entering our school system. I also think it's important for families to tap into those types of programs because it gives them like a head start, a snapshot into what the school is looking like and who is running the school, and to start to build those connections early. And really, it's also an opportunity for the students to become familiar with the school. The elementary school is a big place for a kindergartner.
Yes.
And so, that program allows them the opportunity to be here when it's empty and quiet and feel comfortable so that when they come into the fall, it's not a scary place. Now, you said that you treat your pre-K students just like anyone else in the building, which I love. We are always hopeful when we see that pre-K families and students have the same opportunities. One of the things that is important to me is really attendance, making sure that children attend every day and are on time every day. Talk a little bit about the strategies that you have here to ensure that families are set up those strong patterns early. Okay,
so I'm gonna answer that, but I do want to say just this comment, you talked about the programs. I wholeheartedly agree, and we have hosted your programs at Carver multiple times because I think it's really necessary. So the preview to pre-K and the step up to kindergarten, we've done both at Carver.
Well, before you move, let me just say, people always say like, can change or a lot really happen in 4 or 5 weeks over the summer? Yes.
Absolutely it can.
Yes. We have a really good curriculum. It's taught by certified teachers, hopefully the pre-K teacher who the child will be coming into the classroom to see. And what we saw just last year, I went into a school day 1. Now, you know what day 1 looks like for pre-K.
Oh, yes.
Could be tears. It could be, clingy. But when I tell you those children who were in our program in the summer, teacher pulled out curriculum. Day 1, implementing curriculum with students. Day 1, they were already ready. They didn't need to come in and get adjusted and acclimate. They were ready to learn day 1.
Yes.
Amazing. And that's what we want to see in every school.
We would love to. Well, that's what we see at Carver for the most part.
Great.
We do.
All right. Tell me about what you're doing here to promote attendance.
So attendance is very important in Carver. When I walked through the door in 2021, the attendance rate was 76%. We ended last year at 92%.
Wow. That's amazing. Kudos.
Yes, thank you. It was a lot of work.
I know.
A lot of work, but it was important. So I always stress to my parents, I can't get your child to the table if they don't cross the threshold. Tag, we're it. Get them here. We'll do our part. So we need them here. So it's a big thing at Carver. Now, pre-K is their part of the attendance incentives.
Great.
Whatever they are. So we do a lot of things school-wide, sneaker balls, field trips, goodies, and all type of incentives. That's just what we do. And we celebrate. We celebrate kindergarten. Pre-K, we celebrate the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds. It's just no different. So they are expected to be here 95% of the time, and we have a high rate compared to the city. We have a high rate in our attendance we have a high rate of attendance in pre-K, and I'm proud of that. So the parents is stressed from the very beginning. This is school, so we want to prepare them, and they have to be here in order to prepare them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we say, right? And research tells us, right, what happens or what patterns are set up in pre-K last throughout their adulthood. There's research behind that. And so we are so happy to hear that pre-K is a part of your attendance strategy and that they're encouraged to come. That's the message that we receive. But I also think we also try to tell parents like the importance of pre-K. So a lot of times families are not valuing it because they think it's like daycare or they think it's just like a fun place to be. But we're really diving in and having real meaningful conversations with families about all the learning that is happening in pre-K, which is preparing them for K. And like you said, if they're not here, they are unable to learn.
Yeah. So it's extremely important because, again, as we stated earlier, it sets the foundation. It's the kindergarten, it's the next step. But if they don't have that experience and I know, and I'm sure you know, that if they don't have that experience in pre-K, kindergarten is much more difficult for them. And so, like, even when you talked about the first day of school, in kindergarten, we see the tears when it's their first experience. We see them not being able to engage. At Carver, in pre-K, they're doing small group instruction.
Yes.
We're differentiating. This is school. Now it's play, the play learn. I was about to say therapy, but play learn. We do that too, but that's appropriate for their age. Yeah. So they're getting exactly what they need that will lead to success in kindergarten.
I love that. And I think so many families are struggling with this rigor and play in pre-K. And I think our big message, which we're champion teachers to carry, is that they can do both. They can be stretched to grow and learn and develop more, but they also can do it in a developmentally appropriate way. What I want to talk about now is, we talked about like kindergarten is rigorous, kindergarten is a longer day. Children really need to have a handle on self-regulation because of all the different things that's happening in kindergarten. What are some of the big challenges that you see families deal with when making that transition from pre-K to kindergarten?
The rigor and the stamina that it takes, because again, they're not taking naps. So the making sure that they engage and they have the stamina to participate with the small group instruction, the whole group instruction, everything that's happening with them. And even at Carver, we're departmentalized. So they switch classes in kindergarten.
In kindergarten? Wow.
We have one teacher that teaches science and math, and the other teacher teaches social science and ELA. So they switch. So they see two teachers where, and it's worked very well. It's worked very well because they're prepared, because they did the heavy lift for them becoming acclimated in pre-K. Our students in pre-K are our shining stars. And thankfully in our community here, a lot of our students
Stay with you?
Oh, definitely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. They stay.
Yeah, I'm always curious when I see either teachers looping with their students, and then this structure that you just talked about, departmentalization in kindergarten. I've saw it in second grade, but never in kindergarten. But I think it goes back to the myth of families and people that say oh, they're too young. They can't, they can't do a full day, or they can't handle this much, or they can't come to school every day. And I think what's important to note is that children can do a lot if we trust them with, building on their interest and their experience and what they can do developmentally, but also if we establish those routines with them so they have an opportunity to know what's next and what's expected of them. And I think, even being departmentalized in kindergarten, I know people are like, how? They're so young. But it's what you expose them to, it's the expectations that you have, and it's the routines that you set.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree.
We're going to transition into one of my favorite childhood games.
Okay.
I know we talked a lot about the importance of really bringing the families in, because when you're bringing new families into kindergarten, you want to make sure that they're prepared. So we know family engagement's important. We also talked about just transition and how important that is for students to be prepared for the next level. And then we talked about the importance of attendance and being in school day. So when we play this red light, green light game, I want you to think about all those things. I'm going to ask you some questions. You see our paddles here. If the question is no, then you want to pick up the red paddle and then tell me why. If it's maybe, pick up the yellow. And if it's definitely true, you want to pick up that green.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Okay.
So my first question has to do with parents. Should parents step back more once a student transitions to kindergarten? Tell me why.
So I think they should step back more to allow the independence. They're afraid that their children can't do it. But if we don't give them the opportunity and to do it, we'll never know. So we're here to support the children if they're having a hard time, but step back. When I say when you cross the threshold, tag where it. If we're having a problem and the child is struggling, we're not going to allow the babies to struggle.
Right.
We will invite the parent in, but let's see what we're dealing with first. And if the child can be independent. I think it's really important.
I agree. I love this game because what I thought about was parent engagement, right? And we always want parents to be engaged throughout their journey. But I hear you saying give us a chance to build and allow them to get acclimated to who we are, what we expect of them. And then we'll bring you in to be that partner in education. Yep.
So, and at Carver, parent engagement is extremely important. When I first got here 5 years ago, we had 24% of our parents picking up report cards. The first quarter of this year, we had 69%.
Wow.
So we have VIPs. It's important. I think my greatest gift is being a mom. So I invite my parents in. So they're very important. They're VIPs, very important parents of Carver Elementary. And they have swag. A lot of swag. They have shirts, they have bags and everything.
All right, next question. Are you ready? Independence is just as important as academic in early grades.
I agree.
Why is that?
Because being independent gives them the confidence to be successful academically.
Yes.
Because now they're sure of themselves. I can do this. I can do this without mommy. I can do this without daddy. I can do this without the big brother or sister. I can do this without the teacher. Learning independence, they become very confident.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people think, oh, early grades is all about the academics. that's just one part,
Just
right?
part.
Because the student has to feel comfortable. They have to feel like they belong. They have to feel like they're valued in order for them to grow. And so it is that independence that gives them that confidence, like you said, to try and maybe fail, but then to try again, because that's how we learn. We learn through mistakes, and we learn through trial and error, and we learn through curiosity. And children have to be encouraged and even invited to be curious about the world that's around them. Family engagement directly impacts student success as they transition.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's important. It's beyond important. And I tell my parents all the time, I'm smart enough to know I cannot do this without them. So that's why they're VIPs. That I can't do this. When my children were in school, they're young adults now, but when my children were in school, I signed your partner this school year for their teachers. I'm your partner. I need partners. I cannot do this work alone. So I need the parents to come in. We have, with pre-K2, we have multiple meetings throughout the year because I want you to know what I know.
Yes.
Right? So I want to get, because they don't know. If they haven't been in school in a long time, they don't know the different things that are happening. So that's extremely important to me. And when they know, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. I have not met a parent that just didn't care.
Right.
Sometimes they didn't have the resources or they didn't know what to do. But that's our job. That's my job as the principal, to ensure you know. And if you're still struggling, that's what we're here for. It takes a village. It takes a village.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because, some families may have had bad experiences with school, right? And so now their child is in school and there could be this anxiety. And I love that you have opportunities for families to get engaged. I almost feel like you can belong before you fully trust. And so I think what you're doing is providing those opportunities for them to learn together in a protected place, but also exposing them to you and the culture at the school. So then when they're ready to be an active partner, and I know they're VIPs when they walk through the door, but when they're ready to be an active VIP, the door's open for them.
Absolutely. I
love that. And I think, we need to do a better job in the district, really sharing with families their value and their voice and their role as the teacher. I always think about COVID. We didn't have a choice, but we had so much parent support during COVID. Families were engaged. They were connecting regularly with the teacher. They were, learning what their students were learning because they had to be that teacher at home. I think there's a partnership there that we need to kind of get back to. Really bringing that parent along, educating them so they can feel free to ask questions and help their students. And I know you're building that here, but I think that's something that needs to be built district-wide.
Oh, definitely. Because we're stronger together.
We are stronger together. I love it.
The students will be more successful if we're together.
And, research goes back to show, right? When families are engaged, student outcomes are better.
Yes.
So we need you, families. Don't forget, we need you. And we want you here in our schools.
We do.
And what I said in another space was that families also have unique skill sets that they can bring. So yes, we can teach them, but they can teach us. So we talked a lot about the importance of attendance, bringing families together, making sure they feel like they're engaged and a part. And I know you do a great job bringing them in at the beginning so that they understand when they're entering kindergarten or pre-K for the first time, what the environment and culture of Carver looks like. We also talked about the importance of attendance and students coming every day and being on time. I want you to think about what you would remind families, thinking about all that we talked about today, for them to do at home. What's a reminder? Because I wouldn't be a great teacher if I didn't give homework. And so we're going to start with the reminder, and then we're going to go to action items, and then we'll go to homework. So what's a reminder that you have for families today based off of our conversation?
Research the school. Be comfortable with where you're placing your child.
I love that.
And then make sure you show up as a partner. And if that's not welcome, then that may not be the school for you. But go somewhere where you can partner, and so you can be partner. It should be a partnership with the school and the parent. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. Research. Know where you're placing your child.
I love that. So often, I think, because families may have different experiences, they may not take that step. So I love that you're reminding them to take that step. I think my action item for them is to get involved.
Yes.
Right? You said it, I'm saying it. We can't put an exclamation mark on it more. We need you to be our partner in this work. We can't do it alone. You know more about your child than we do.
Absolutely.
And your voice can help us, help them be more successful. And so my homework for families is really centering around thinking about what their child might need as they transition, whether they're transitioning into pre-K or transitioning into kindergarten or getting ready to transition out of kindergarten into first grade. So families, there's a lot of resources out there. Your school is your partner. I would seek out the resources that are available to provide the right support for my child as they think about transitioning to the next level. I want to thank you so much, Principal DeLoach. This has been a great conversation. Learned so much about your school and how you're supporting children and families. I want to thank you for your work and thank you for allowing the conversation today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So you heard today from Principal DeLoach the importance of researching, right? And becoming a partner at the school that your child is going to. In our next episode, we're going to take you around the school so you'll get a chance to see firsthand what makes a school great. We talked a lot about the importance of connecting to schools, the importance of attendance, and really being thoughtful and supporting your child through transitions. If you feel like this episode helped you, or if you feel like this is an episode for a family who may be transitioning a student in or out of a particular grade, share. And don't forget to subscribe. I want to make sure that you're connected and you do not miss one episode of Circle Time Convos.